Right, so into street talk, and as I just said, the fact that had a rather busy week this week has also impacted my notes because I've almost put everything all into one story this week. Almost everything. Because
You fool.
I know. I thought, is this linked to this story? Is this all the same story?
Yeah.
And this does generally kind of often happen around Christmas time, doesn't it?
Push them all together.
Put them all together and have them all intertwine and mingle and merge, which you said when we were watching it the other day that is good storytelling, good plotting.
I think so. I often find the stories that I enjoy the most are the ones that bring together lots of different storylines all together, and it's obviously a lot more complicated and it takes a lot more planning to do it like that, but when they are able to, it's quite satisfying to watch.
Well, the fact that I guess the reason this week that this happened is because we've had this whole whodunit thing, and because there's this so wide list of suspects, then almost anything that any of those characters have done in the past week, we thought, well, we've got to include that just in case that's part of the story, even if it's not really related to it. So I've got the smug Scottish hit, as we called it last week, along with the race to raise the place. But I mean, chucked in there as well. I mean, there's Peter and Carla stuff. There's Shona trapped in the bistro with Simon because he's still got something to do with it because of that paint can he had, and I wouldn't discount him. I wouldn't rule him out as a suspect for the bonking on the head either. There's tons in this story, and because Gemma is, on the edge of consciousness right now.
Yeah, I really am.
Due to her not having, how much sleep do you reckon you've had over the past 3 or 4 days? 6, 7, 8 hours total, or maybe you're in double digits if you're lucky.
That's right.
I'll take the duties of synopsising that one. Then we got the Paul story, and I got a new storyline title for this, just for this week, Gemma. I don't know if it's this week. He's in a call centre. It's called the story Better Call Paul. Mm-hmm. Little chuckle from Gemma. Like Better Call Saul, you get it. Then we have a bit of the Jeffrey story. Which is, it seems to be winding itself down now. Elaine seems to be maybe sticking around, which is lovely. We'll see what they've got up to then. And then we have got what is hoping to be the feel-good story of the Christmas period. Imran and Toyah getting approved for fostering. Going to have a little kitty, aren't they? Maybe a little baby, a Batter's BB baby.
Maybe they're going to foster maybe they're all making
foster an old man. Foster somebody who needs shielding.
Foster somebody who needs to be walked to the vaccination clinic.
Oh, yeah. Do you want to say about that quickly? Our little adventures this afternoon. Sorry, we'll get to Corrie in a minute.
There's from the motorway, there's one main road that leads to the city centre near our house. And you really can't avoid this road. You have to use it to get in and out of the city. And we have to cross this road in the car to get to my parents' house, which we did earlier today. And when we did, the road was completely snarled up, and this was like the middle of the Saturday afternoon. I was like, why is this sometimes it gets busy, but this was standstill traffic, and that never happens. And I was like, what's going on? So I looked down the road and there were all these people in yellow jackets. I was like, looks like an event is going on or something. This is ridiculous. Who's having an event during a pandemic? This is very irresponsible. And so I got really curious, and when we got back home, we went for a walk to go and have a nosy, and there's a doctor's surgery on this main road, and they'd set up a big triage tent in a marquee in the where you would park your car normally. And so people were arriving. There was a man who'd stopped dead in traffic and to let his elderly father out, I assume, because there was nowhere to park. And so everybody had to wait for this poor old man to get out of the car, obviously a bit shaky on his feet, while the guy got out of his car to help him, and there was a lady there like a volunteer, but it's really badly organised. But it was really nice to see everybody, all the old people going to get their vaccinations. It was.
I've never seen quite so many octogenarians all in one place. It was like a last of the summer wine fest or something, wasn't it?
It was silly because there's nowhere to park. Like, they were parking in the community centre across the road. There's like a little parallel road that doesn't go anywhere that you could go into, but nobody was going in there. They literally was stopping on the main road. And there's shops up the road, and I saw a couple walking from the shops they parked to walk down, and he looked so unsteady on his feet. I asked him if he wanted a wheelchair, but he said he was all right, and I was like, yeah, okay. And I asked them what's going on, and the one of the volunteers was like, I don't know. She said the police wouldn't help them. The traffic police wouldn't want to know. And so they were basically just all these volunteers just doing their best to try to
manage the situation.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I'm glad the old people are getting their vaccinations first, because I want to be one when I grow up, and so we should take care of them.
Back to Coronation Street. Well, we haven't even started Coronation Street. This is the beginning of it, really.
But that was
morning.
historical. That's of historical note.
That is. They're gonna use that as evidence.
It's very exciting that this is happening so much quicker than we had hoped.
So we last left Adam Barlow passed out on the bistro floor Friday last week. Chips and a pile of blood, going cold. And this wasn't a little bit of blood, was it? I mean, he didn't, just need a plaster on Monday morning. This looked like he was leaking pints all over the place in the bistro. But he's still alive somehow on Monday morning. I know it's supposed to be the next morning. They make them of tough stuff up beyond the border, don't they?
Well, I mean, the Northerners think they're so tough and cool, but the Scots think they're Southerners. So how about that for a mind? Screwing with your mind.
Anyway, he's flat out on the bistro floor on Monday morning. Daniel's looking for him. He goes to the solicitor's office.
Yeah, he still hasn't been discovered at this point.
No, he hasn't.
Just a cooling corpse on the floor.
Yeah, and it is like, many hours later. I don't know how he's supposed to survive this.
Everybody's had a bender like this, Michael, except for you.
At least with Pat Phelan got hit on the head, he wasn't, swimming in his own blood afterwards, but... Oh, well. He's young, isn't he, old Adam?
I know, you can brush these things off when you're...
Maybe it was just tomato sauce.
Young lad. I mean, we don't know. We're assuming. It was very red to be blood.
Speaking of red stains, the solicitor's office has got liar, cheat written over the front of it when Daniel gets there on Monday morning. Who could that be? So not only have we got a whodunit of who hit Adam Barlow, we got a whodunit of who did the solicitors in.
Like
was
American
it the same
Vandal.
person? I don't know. Is that a little bit of a red herring? A red painted herring? Who knows? We have to wait and see, because we don't know by the end of this week the answer to one of those at least. Peter, meanwhile, is stumbling back to the pub. We last saw him passed out on the bench on Friday night. After he'd fallen off the wagon again. He's blaming Carla for him getting drunk. He's refusing any help from her, and she notices when he takes his jacket off, he's got a red stain on his top. And immediately I thought, okay, I think that they're trying to deflect us to here. No, I bet that's actually red paint. I bet he was the one that painted on the solicitor's door, which obviously isn't.
As soon as I saw he had red blood or red stain on his top, I thought, well, it's not him.
I know they like to throw on these obvious clues.
It's not a murder mystery, but whenever you watch a mystery story and within the first few minutes after the body is discovered, you see some really incriminating evidence of somebody, you're like, well, not them then.
Yeah, and to be fair, I think that Peter Barlow was, too inebriated to have been able to have really whacked and wielded this weapon.
I don't think he honestly could have crapped up on. Although Adam did have his head in his hands, he might have been asleep himself.
Anyway, we'll get to our theories in the end. We need to say what happened first. So that's what Peter's doing. He says he doesn't know whose blood it was at first, but it's not his. Carla is worried about him, but he doesn't care. He says, look, you drop the privilege of worrying about me when you drop your knickers for Adam. Carla is grovelling away, but he won't forgive her. Carla was utterly pathetic this week. I'm sorry, Carla. You need to... what has become of you, girl?
I know.
She was just snivelling and
Peter,
sobbing
you're the
and
best thing that's
weeping
ever
and
happened to
begging
me.
and pleading.
Like, he's not that much of a catch, love. He spent the night on a bench.
Yeah. He's no angel either, is he? I mean, he's been just as unfaithful as she has in the past. I felt so bad for Carla's character. She's already been kicked down the last few years, but this is just like... They're out of her misery.
Peter is really enjoying revelling and being the victim at the moment.
Yeah, he is.
I think in a way, because his power's been stripped of him by this revelation that he never thought he would have, he's kind of trying to take back that control over his situation by becoming the victim, like on his own terms rather than on her terms.
Yeah.
Because she's like made him a victim of adultery, but now he's become a victim of alcoholism instead.
Yeah.
Everybody wins.
Faye, meanwhile, who I don't know whether we even discussed her as a potential suspect last week, but she's certainly looking a little bit guilty this week for various reasons. She has decided that she is quitting the bistro, obviously after her little meeting of minds with Ray last week.
Meeting of minds.
This is a family podcast. She tells Sally and Tim that I'm not working there anymore. They think that's great. And Sally, this is when she also finds out from Kevin about Debbie being in on the whole redevelopment thing with Ray. Speaking of which, he and Debbie arrive at the bistro at last, 6-7 scenes into the episode, and find our poor Scottish victim lying there on the floor.
You don't need to keep reminding everyone that he's from Scotland.
I know. Corey's made me do it. Can't mention Adam without saying his nationality. It's bad. So he gets...
Because he has no other distinguishing features, obviously.
None at all. No. None at all. An ambulance takes him away.
Has he got beautiful eyes or anything?
Daniel breaks the news to Sarah, who's looking quite concerned. Is she looking concerned? Is she looking guilty? I don't know.
I don't care.
Gary's also there, looking very brooding, as if maybe he did it. Not sure. I don't know whether No, I don't think it was his. I've read a good...
Gary?
No, I've read a good theory about him. I'll tell you later.
Oh.
Debbie gets barred from the cafe from Nina. Sally comes and has a go at Debbie as well. But Debbie is still not ashamed of this. She says she's just talking about the fact this redevelopment is good for the area. What are you going to do about it? It's development. So it's, she says, look, Sally, you're just annoyed that he didn't sell your house.
The thing is, if you've invested a considerable amount of time and money into a project that really is of intrinsically no... It's not like a morally bankrupt thing to do, is it?
No.
To build flats. So, despite what the residents of Coronation Street might have you think, she's not doing anything wrong.
No.
So yeah, she's not going to back down and crawl away with a tail between her legs. She's got too much time and money invested in it to do that. But I think she's barking up the wrong tree. She thinks she can win these guys over.
Well, this is what she tries to do this week, doesn't she? She tries to take the lead in this because she realises that nobody wants to do business with, what did Abby call him? Sex nut or whatever.
Sex case.
Sex case.
Remember,
right.
In life, Michael, this is a lesson that I'm going to give to you now as a wise older woman. You can make money.
9 months, my senior.
You can make money or you can make friends. You do what you do and make a podcast. It doesn't get you either.
Excuse me. Debbie then goes to see Gary about selling the factory because remember he's pulled out of this and he's not interested. You can't convince him. Factory's not for sale. Definitely not to your pervy business partner, he says. Meanwhile, at the hospital, Sally is talking to a detective. I think this is a guy that we've seen before about a row that she had with Adam last night, and she says, "I want me that bopped her on the head though." Yeah, we argued because he'd been having it off with Carla. But you go and see Peter because he was been wronged in this, and I reckon it was definitely him. I would never hurt Adam, but maybe he would.
Yeah.
And after the row we had last night, I went straight home, asked my brother David.
What's that?
Maria goes to see Gary in the shop. His excuse at the moment is that he was just driving round when Adam was attacked. And she says, look, that's not a really solid story, really, is it? And he says, you're right. Can you be my alibi, please? And at this moment, I thought,
that is the weirdest Valentine's card she's ever got.
What? Alibi, not Valentine. I thought, I bet Maria will. She's so dumb. She's so bend over backy. She's so compliant, but actually she didn't. She ended up standing up to her, didn't she? And for a little bit at least. Carla is telling Peter about Adam next. He doesn't seem too bothered about it. He's going out, and she says, look, was this Adam's blood on your top? He says, no, if you must know, it was some drunk guy on the red wreck, and the blood was from a broken bottle. And he was, what was his story? It was something like he was trying to help a drunk guy out and the bottle got smashed, and I don't know. When he first said it, I didn't know whether to believe him or not, or why he hadn't mentioned it earlier. There was also the fact that his blood was on the inside of his jacket. It was like on his t-shirt or something, I thought. So it's like, if you're out on the red wreck at night, you'd probably be a bit cold and have your jacket zipped up. But I don't know. I think at this stage I probably do believe this story. But it's not me he has to convince, it's the police. And detective turns up later to talk to Peter. So it turns out that Adam, what ails him is he has a skull fracture and bruising on the brain, and he's being put into an induced coma. Daniel, Ken and Sarah are the ones that are sitting around his bedside most of this week. They all reckon that Peter'd done it, though Daniel says, well, you know, Sarah's got a motive too. And if Carla wasn't the character who wound me up the most this week, it may well have been Daniel as a close second choice. He was insufferably smug and petty and high and mighty and basically hypocritical.
He's always been like that. I think he's always been a bit of a smug little git.
I just think that the fact that, you know, last time we had a whodunit, it was him who done it.
Yeah, I know. And he's
Talk about like, glass houses
and really, I really
stones.
wish it had been alluded to or referenced in some way. Like, I don't remember if it was or not, but I
don't think it
really
was.
liked him to be sitting there going, I know what it's like when you snap about when a loved one treats you in, what, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I was just every time he opened his mouth this week, Daniel, I just wanted him to shut up. And this is the character that generally I fairly quite like.
Well, yeah.
I don't love him, and
he's not done. This is the trouble. This is what happens when they have to deal with a character that's grieving, or they need to. Yeah, the same thing kind of happened with Roy almost. Like they to depict grief in a honest way, the character just has to be really miserable and sad for like a year.
But I think and
I agree with you. There's a hypocrisy.
That so is.
And
he is certainly not whiter than white.
I don't even mind it when characters like that, because I honestly, I don't believe any, like, people who think they're not a hypocrite about something are fooling themselves. Everybody, like, modern life makes everyone into hypocrites. It's unavoidable. But I don't mind a hypocrite, but what I do want to see is them being told that they're a hypocrite and having to face their hypocrisy head on. And nobody really told him to shut up and mind his own goddamn business. And I really wish they had.
I mean, cutting to the chase, I wasn't really a big fan of this week's Coronation Street. I think you were into it more than me. The whodunit is feeling a little bit, you know...
Don't say anything bad about the whodunit.
It kind of is a bit whodunit by numbers.
I don't care what you say.
And
do you think Agatha Christie sat there without a little, like, a bag of names and things for each of her plots and just drew them out and went, oh yeah, it's the butler again?
Whodunits for dummies. No, I just think that it's kind of it's kind of very standard, and people getting these clues put on them, and it's obviously not them.
I tell you what.
But the main thing of it is everybody seemed to just be being nasty to each other this week. I can't think of. I mean, I'll probably, you know, as we get there, there are very few characters where it's like you had a good time this week. You were just loving life this week in Coronation Street. Everybody was either miserable, crying, angry, smarmy, hypocritical, nasty, just mean to each other.
Yeah.
Almost everybody was. And the closest that we got from a smile from most characters might have been, you know, a smug smirk when they thought that they had got one over somebody else. And I'm, you know, I've got no problem usually with the dark stuff on Coronation Street, but I really felt this week it could have done with a little bit more happiness and niceness and lovingness, which is why I'm really holding out a lot of hope for the Imran and Toyah stuff next week, because I think that's likely, I hope, to be my haven of happiness during the presumable Christmas misery. And I hope I'm wrong, because this year we've said we want it to be a happy Christmas on Weatherfield, but with this story now, you know, coming front and centre, it's I don't know. Anyway, I digress. So where did I get to? I'm having a go at Daniel. Johnny and Jenny are back at the Rovers and asking Carla if she suspects Peter of whacking Daniel. She says no. And this didn't make sense. This is when Jenny's got the washing in the basket. Remember, she's got the laundry basket.
Yeah, and it's
so
like...
your not your husband, your boyfriend comes home with some blood on his top after somebody who you had previously had a bit of an argument with has turned up bloodied on the floor of the local hostelry. Why would you just chuck it in the laundry for, your landlady to come and find? And it was there on the top of the pile.
Yep.
The fact that Carla just threw it away casually is one thing, but the fact that it was there
Jenny
on the top of the
not-
laundry pile and Jenny didn't notice it.
Jenny would not have been able to avoid seeing, because it was red on white and your eye would automatically...
It wasn't subtly done, was it? It might as well have had, flashing neon lights and a big arrow pointing towards it saying, look at this blood.
Michael, just remember, the only thing that people ever find on the top of a pile in a reliable fashion is a pregnancy test. If Peter had had a pregnancy test, a positive pregnancy test, she would have laser visioned her way straight to it.
But, it was silly.
Because it was blood, she's like, nothing to see here.
Yeah, it was. Johnny and Jenny completely missed that.
They completely
luckily
missed
for
it.
Carla.
And then Carla's like, I'll do the laundry, don't worry. If I was Jenny, I'd say, no, you're not doing my laundry. You don't even know how to cook toast.
You flood the kitchen.
You're terrible at domestic chores because you think it makes you a more cool woman.
Carla probably doesn't know that the washing machine exists. She probably just, I'll put all the dirty clothes in this basket, and then a few days later, suddenly they turn up folded up and clean on the end of my bed.
Who do you think does that for her then? I mean, the other thing about Carla and Peter at the moment, I believe they are both technically homeless.
I'm waiting for them to find a permanent lodging.
Because when people talk about the homelessness epidemic, it's very easy to imagine that your people are talking about people living on the streets with nowhere, with the duvets, wrapped up cold. But homelessness is many different forms, and one of them is not having any fixed abode and sort of couch surfing, which is kind of what Carla and Peter are really doing.
It feels like as a couple, as well established, I suppose, high profile, exactly, as Carla and Peter, they shouldn't just be bumming off Johnny and Jenny. I guess they've formed a bubble with them.
I know. I find it very weird that they're. I mean, because at least in the situation of Toyah and Imran, where you've got a couple who really shouldn't be cohabiting with anybody else because of their social status and their the money coming in. At least they're the ones sort of subletting to somebody else. Whereas Carla and Peter, really, both, I would have thought they would have the resources to get somewhere to live. I don't think that either of them would not be able to get money to live. I mean, what happened to bloody Carla's beard oil side business? She was supposed to be running for Bertie's inheritance.
Tell you what,
she ain't doing that in the kitchen.
What they need is a massive block of flats just building nearby, and then all these people that are being the lodgers of all the other characters, they said they got somewhere to live now.
High rise,
sorted,
low rent, Michael.
Yeah, that's what she proposes that. Speaking of which, the rabble raisers had a little meeting at Speed Dial, which is it seems to be used more as a meeting or party spot.
I guess the community centre's not wide enough.
It's quite mini, isn't it?
Because they've got to accommodate the actors being able to distance as well as the characters. We've got to keep remembering.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't remember the last time that Speed Dial actually served a curry.
Somebody's just gone out there with a measurement and realised that that's the only set that everybody can fit on.
Yeah. Well, they can't do it at the bistro, can they? Because that's Ray's home turf. And
I don't think he'd host them, would he?
They're meeting to discuss the next steps. What has Ray actually done wrong here that we can make stick?
Don't know.
Gary comes in and he says, right, I think you're right. Ray caused the sinkhole and I think that I can prove it. What's he going to do? I don't know. We'll find out in a bit. I can't remember. What did he do?
He went and asked the guy who wasn't there anymore.
Oh, yeah, he did, didn't he?
Stroke of genius, Gary. What next? What's your next plan? Ask Jeff.
This is the point where Debbie tells Ray, you need to take a step back. Nobody likes you. Let me take charge, please.
I've heard that so many times.
Nina. Oh, no, then Then Carla is in the factory talking to Nina, and she just wants to get rid of her, really, so that she can get to the cleaning trolley and get some bleach. Because, rather than just burning Peter's top, which was so effective when Jeff did it the other month, she's like, she first tries to wash it, then she tries to bleach it.
I thought that what she was doing was mixing together different cleaning materials, so she'd try and mustard gas herself to death, but she's no good at recipes, is she?
Maybe that's why she was crying so much this week.
It didn't work.
Anyway, that doesn't work. Whatever it was she was trying to do, she ends up dumping it.
Why do the feminine arts elude me?
She ends up dumping it in the bin
out
the back of the factory, which was, it seemed to us, and I'm sure it wasn't a brand new set or anything, but I don't remember seeing the back of the factory before, because they've had down the side of it. They've even had, I'm sure, bins, from a different angle. But this was literally within the compound of Nuttall's Brewery, because you could see the gates just behind Carla when she was dumping it. So I don't know, did they... I found it a bit odd that
I think they've
Nuttall's
just got that
don't
set.
have a fence. That is, they literally share the same bins, do they?
Well, yeah, because they probably don't... They're probably one fills up the recycling and one fills up the main one.
Carla's probably out. That's why she wanted to go back working at the factory, so she could go and lick out the inside of the bin on her lunch break. The lush.
Bin juice.
Yeah, boozy bin juice.
I wonder whether that set is been put there because we're going to have further stories involving Ray trying to develop the brewery and...
I mean, it would have been used for the Winter Wonderland last year, of course.
Right.
But I think this is the first time that I noticed that the factory literally backs out onto it.
Those events were so horrifically tragic, Michael, that I don't remember.
Alas, Derek. R.I.P.
I can't go on How to
Think
Scourge
you can get a
again.
nomination on the Conversation Street Awards.
Might do.
Anyway, it feels to me that that's not the last we've seen of Peter's top, because that seemed like the most ridiculous place to throw it. If you're going to throw away evidence, generally somebody will find it, unless you see the bin lorry coming. If you put it on the top of a
bin, they will. I mean, she should have got the bus, gone... I mean, you couldn't do this because of COVID. Gone to a completely different county and, I don't know, thrown it in a bin there.
Yeah, it was... watch this space for that.
And it wasn't even her evidence to hide.
I think I'm wondering whether the fact that it is in the brewery and things are going on in the brewery, will somebody find it there? I don't know anyway. So Peter is telling his story to the detective at the station while all this is going on, and he is getting very frantic. He's got the shakes, his foot is jiggling away, he needs his alcohol fix, but obviously it's making him look really guilty and worried and suspicious as well, isn't it?
It's like his withdrawal, or maybe something a bit more sinister that's been triggered in his biology.
Yeah, well, I mean, the last thing that we've been told about Peter from a doctor is his next drink could be his last.
If you drink it again, you will die.
Maybe. And he ends up leaving, and he says, look, go and see these other people.
Well, he answers a load of questions.
Here are the other suspects. Really Look, I've just gone onto the ITV website. Here's the lineup. I'm only one of them. Go and see them. And to be honest, it could be somebody else, actually. I think it's going to be one of those sorts of whodunits. Off you go. I need to leave. Ray, meanwhile, finds Faye and wants to know, what are you playing at? Why you quit? You can't just up and leave. I thought we had a good time last week. I didn't try to rape you. I didn't hear you saying no. And then Maria, good for her, comes along and threatens to sort him out. And he probably thought his luck was in there for a little bit, but
that's exactly what I was trying to do.
You're too old, Marie. You're in your 30s. If he doesn't do when she's going to sort him out, so she says, "Look, Faye,
he's not a paedophile."
No, he's he'll
he
have
was
anyone.
After Michelle.
That's very true. Are you saying that Michelle is the embodiment of youth? Michelle's not in her.
Can I just
30s,
tell you,
surely.
Michael, that you might not realise it from her youthful looks. She looks such a maiden, but her wise demeanour makes you realise
so wise, Michelle.
that she is of advanced years.
That's true. And it was like, how long ago was she in Hearsay?
And don't forget,
20 years ago, blimey.
Don't forget, in sheer life experience, she's 103.
So she says to Faye, Maria says, look, Faye, you got to tell the police about Ray before Gary gets there first and kills him. But Faye is very, very hesitant about this. She just wants to forget it ever happened. Carla tells Peter that she's got rid of the top. He's mad because she doesn't believe him, and by doing this, she's made him look even more guilty.
I know, because he's like, you don't need to hide the evidence because I didn't do anything.
It was literally a T-shirt with a drunk man's blood on it.
Yeah, and now, I can't prove now that that's not Adam's blood.
I'm moving out, Peter says, and Carla's like, no, I'll move out. I'll go, I suppose I'll leave my dad's house.
I'll move out of my dad's house so you can live here, because that won't be weird or awkward.
Go and stay at Roy's.
Roy says, oh good.
Sarah, towards the end of the episode, talks to David about speaking to the police. And she's like, and anyway, I stayed in all night, remember? And then Harry pipes up. Remember Harry, her other son, spawn of Callum? He said, and we did have to rewind this to see what he said. You told me what he said,
because my ovaries told me, because I'm a woman and I can understand small children in a way that men can't.
I think Harry needs elocution lessons. But good for him. It's nice that he had... Is this his first line ever?
Well,
maybe?
You're really criticising him for it. He's not going to do it again.
He's no Patrick Stewart,
Patrick Swayze,
Trevor McDonald. What? Has he got a famous? Has he got a famous voice? I'm thinking about the great
Freeman.
orators, exactly.
Joanna Lumley.
Yes. Anyway, not bad for your first attempt, Harry. But basically, he says, "I had you go out last night," and Sarah's like,
"Shut up!
No, you bloody didn't, Harry.
Why is this your first words you've ever said? You traitorous cretin."
Yeah, most children just say mama or daddy.
Yeah,
why does yours have to be dropping me
truck?
in it?
And everyone's like, oh god.
Red truck. The detective comes round to see Maria and Gary, and Maria at last gives him his alibi. She had at one point said, no, I don't think so. But she's now saying, yes, we had an early night and slept right through. So for the time being, whatever he has been up to, he seems to be in the clear. Wednesday, Sarah, Daniel and Ken still back around Adam's bedside. Daniel is still being a petty asshole to Sarah and saying, oh, you need to stop the weeping widow act. He's been bloody crying all year.
But he's actually a widow. They're both widows. Well,
he's a widower.
She's nearly one.
He's been the one that's responsible for the toilet roll shortage in Weatherfield. Never mind COVID. It's all the tissues he's been crying through because of tonight.
If she were to do the equivalent of what he did, she would have waited until he was in his deathbed to go off and shag somebody else.
Yeah.
She's bloody.
Debbie and Abby having another argy-bargy session on the street. Abby reveals that once upon a time, last year, Ray tried to blackmail me into sex. Remember, they went to the hotel room and he was like saying he tried to...
He's like, you can have anything out of the minibar.
What happened? It was like, didn't he...
I don't remember.
I think it was after he'd bought the garage and he's like, come to the hotel with me and maybe I'll change my mind. And then she's ready. She would go through with it. And then he goes, no, not really. I just wanted to see if you would. So yeah, Debbie now knows, if she didn't know already, just what a nasty piece of work he is. Ken finds Peter skulking.
Well, you know what Debbie says, lads will be lads.
Ken finds Peter skulking in the hospital car park later. He wants to come and see if Adam's okay, but he's obviously very nervous about going in.
He also doesn't want to see him.
Yeah, Ken is still not convinced that Peter's not just here to finish the job.
Yeah,
and
I
says,
know.
yeah,
He's
you
like,
better
how
go.
do I know you won't kill him? It's like, okay, yeah, fair enough. We are in a soap. I might do that.
You've literally left him alone in a room with Sarah, who definitely could have done it, and Daniel, who really has got form for clonking relatives over their head.
Yeah.
You need to get back in there
All
quick.
you need is for a couple of them to go off to get a coffee together, and there'll be a murder.
There will. A murder.
Yeah, murder.
Gary reckons that he's got the sinkhole bloke on his side, and he's going to reveal how Ray made it. How he and Ray made the sinkhole together at this... What was the meeting in Speed Dial? It was a let's convince the residents actually the block of flats are all right really meeting that Debbie's putting together.
Yeah.
So Gary's got this all sorted, so he's all going to be fine. Shona, meanwhile, enter Shona into the story. She's friends with Simon, remember everybody, which is still no less weird than it was a couple of weeks ago in my mind. They're basically... She puts her foot in it with him by speaking very bluntly about how everybody think his dad was the one that whacked Adam on the head. Peter sees Simon later, and I think the last time they'd seen each other was it the previous night when Adam had seen Peter in the park and found out and seen him drunk again, and Peter's like saying, "Oh, sorry, Simon, I won't screw up again. I didn't do this to Adam though." And Simon believes him. And is that because he trusts his dad, or is it because he knows exactly who did hit Adam over the head and it was him? But just the way that he delivered that line there, like, "I know you didn't do it, Dad."
Yeah.
It felt like it could have been more. And so the
Simon
theory is still alive and strong.
The thing is, it felt less like a declaration of solidarity and more like I know you didn't do it because... ... I
wonder if it'd be interesting if, like, it was more than one person. Like, imagine if, say, Faye... yeah, exactly. If Faye and Simon and, one other had got together and they all did it together, and they just maybe haven't put those characters in a scene together yet, but eventually they'll have them all meet together in a room and say, "Blimey, turning up the heat, aren't they?"
Good job on that murder.
Anyway, Peter has a go at Sarah as she walks past. Meeting of the rabble rousers and Ray and Debbie all starts. Turns out that this pipe guy has gone AWOL, and Ray hints that he paid him to scarper. Debbie tells Ray, "Stop winding them up. It's not making it any easier for us. We're trying to get them on our side, remember?"
I don't think that she needs them on her side.
But she's by this point starting to feel guilty, isn't she?
Yeah, she feels guilty, and she also wants to be liked.
She wants to be liked, and she wants Kevin to forgive her. So she's trying to, rebuild these burnt bridges here. Exactly, smooth things over, and she just wants Ray to shut up because he's just enjoying smugging it over the whole of the anti-flat committee. Which, to be honest, is still not very many people, is it? There's like 3 or 4 characters that have really got a massive problem with this block of flats that are being built. They really hate flats
for some reason. They're like, I don't want to play service charge.
Brian, Roy, Gary, Abby. Is there anybody else I can't remember?
Yeah.
Thank you. Your concerns have been noted, but everyone else seems okay with it, so we're still going to build these if that's okay with you. David, of course,
if we stopped every development because a inverted comma crowd of 5 people turned up to complain,
never get anything done.
We literally would still be living in thatched cottages.
Maria,
what do you want these fancy stairs for? What's wrong with living on one level?
Maria sees Sarah later and says, "I've told the police that I was with Gary all night." Sarah's like, because she saw Gary on the night it happened, it later turns out. Debbie has got a plan B, she reveals. And this is a surprise to everyone, including Ray.
Yeah, this was bad. This was a bad plan.
Is that what the B stands for?
Yeah.
Plan bad.
Yeah.
Well, no, it seems like it's what was it? She's not going to, it involves not having to knock down the factory because Gary's still resolutely saying, "You're not having my factory, thank you very much." This cabin is safe and all those buildings around there. It just involves knocking down the masonettes and the brewery, obviously.
Yeah, but it seems like here's how I will compromise and please nobody.
All of the properties that they already own handily, they can still knock down and build a pretty nice set of flats up there. Maybe they just can't have, and another branch of Costa outside the front where the cabin is now. But anyway, this is what we could do, said Debbie, and to be honest, we don't need your permission.
Yeah.
But Ray is there behind her going, "Hang on a minute, I didn't know anything about this. I don't.
You can't just change
I'm the boss here."
Yeah, I've got investors as well.
Yes, exactly, and they're not going to be happy because they've signed up for Plan A, which stands for ACE, because it's the best plan. Gary is summoned to the furniture shop by Sarah, who says, "I saw you last night. You said you were supposedly at home with Maria, but I saw you skulking around outside. Why do you need your wife to lie for you?" Dum dum dum, that's the break time cliffhanger on Wednesday. And Gary says, "Well, actually, if you saw me, what were you doing? Because it means that you weren't inside all evening as well." And Sarah fires back at him saying, "Yeah, well, you killed Rick Neelan and buried him under the wood, so nah."
Yeah.
Gary is left looking very angsty again because that's the second time in a week that somebody who knows his deep dark secret has threatened to reveal it to everybody or reminded him that he's got other issues going on here. Where are we up to? Peter returns to the Rovers later. Simon is in the middle of having a go at Carla for all of this. Carla got a bag packed and just sobs off in a flood of tears. She might as well. I'm surprised she wasn't swimming out of the Rovers. The amount of liquid that was emanating from her ocular sockets as she leaves the Rovers. Are you still awake to this, Gemma? I'm turning around every so often and looking at Gemma, and those eyes are closed for a long time.
I can hear a weird blob noise. Can you hear that, or is it me falling asleep?
I think you're dreaming.
I keep hearing like a
about blobs.
blob.
There are no blobs around here. Keep awake, Gemma, because I don't remember everything that happened, and I might need you to help me here, because on Wednesday,
I might need a coffee break in a minute.
We can have a coffee break after we finish the story. This was Wednesday. We ended up watching this episode about midnight, because this was after we'd just been spending hours and hours and hours tidying the house, just in the early stages on Wednesday, considering that we finished it at 12 o'clock today. And
hours and hours and hours.
I wasn't particularly enjoying this episode, and I was falling a bit of asleep while I was
Nobody
watching
wants to hear us crying about how tired we are. There are
we're as
people
bad
in
as Carla.
Pandemic.
We're just moan, whinge, moan.
People on the front lines fighting against coronavirus, and where they're going, oh, I had to wipe down the sides.
Anyway, Carla's gone off to Roy's.
The same sides, because it was raining today, and the cat kept going outside and coming back in and getting muddy paws over everything.
Yeah,
so maybe that will change your perspective.
She just doesn't want to move.
For us.
Just doesn't want to move. Ray tells Debbie, "I don't do Plan Bs. He's got no time,
Every time
no desire."
They said Plan B, I just kept thinking of the morning after pill.
Is that what it is?
It's like, I don't do Plan Bs, that's why I've got 10 bastards all the way around Manchester.
He's got no desire or time or will or anything to pay for another planning permission here.
No, of course.
I make all the decisions. We're sticking with Plan A. I'm the boss, Debbie.
Well, yeah, literally, her main reason to say, let's do Plan B, is that Plan A is going to hurt people's feelings. Why would Ray
Well, it's
care
also
about
the
that?
fact that they
Well,
can't
she wants to save the garage.
She wants to save the garage, and the fact Gary's not willing to sell the factory, the cabins.
I think they should have a discussion that basically they can do what they like because they can force them to sell, but it costs more money. I got the impression that it literally didn't make any difference to them whether they sold or not. It just cost more money to get them to cough up. So, from Ray's perspective, he's going to pay more money either way. Plan A, he pays extra money to force them out. Plan B, he gets half of what he wanted and pays them more money. Doesn't make any sense.
No.
She's really for somebody that's supposedly a shrewd businesswoman, the likes of Karen Brady level.
She was called Karen, wasn't she, this week?
I thought she was being called Karen because she was being a Karen, but apparently Karen is a term of endearment.
She's been called all sorts. What was the other? Annie Lennox is my favourite Debbie Webster.
Yeah. Karen Brady in the UK is a businesswoman who was like...
She was on The Apprentice.
Well, yeah, you guys know what The Apprentice is, don't you? Americans.
Yes, I certainly do. So, Daniel ends up realising that maybe Sarah didn't do it later on, because he catches her sobbing away by Adam's bedside. He says, "Sorry for accusing you earlier, but, everyone's a suspect, aren't they?"
He's such a bloody... Is this Daniel, yeah?
Yeah.
He's such a bloody soft-touch, stupid, namby-pamby, backy down. Like, if you really think...
Criticise him for having a go at her. Criticise her for backing down.
I've always said this. Have the courage of your convictions, right? If he was so riled up that he really thought that she bashed her husband's head in, and then he finds her crying, and he immediately is like, women only cry because they're sad. She must have definitely not done it. Couldn't she be crying because, like, she's upset that she nearly killed him, or, like, crying because he's not dead? Has he got no imagination?
He's supposed to have imagination.
I mean, that's very Shakespearean, really, isn't it, Daniel? You've not read any of those. They are plays, though. They're not poems.
They say, who could hate Adam enough to do this to him? Cut to Simon and Peter, who are having kind of Bondy scenes over how much they hate Carla together. But the interesting thing in that scene is Simon saying, "Ooh, I really want to kill Carla right now." And Peter jokes that the cop is going to be after him next. And Simon gives a bit of a, sort of look.
I hope not.
I hope the police don't come to me because I've got a secret. And then, this is another thing that I hated on Wednesday's episode. I didn't hate it all.
Go on, tell me.
I did not like, and I felt it was completely unnecessary.
What?
The beep beep. Oh no, Adam's life support machine. He's going into cardiac arrest. Everybody rush in, save him, just for the fact that there was a break coming up. And I've at no point during that time did I think, oh no, I hope he doesn't die, or I hope he does die, whatever. Is he going to die? It was literally just we need to have some kind of drama before the break, so it didn't work on me, Corey. Shona. This is where we find out that Simon, well, we don't know at the moment whether he was the one that caved Adam's head in, but we do know that he was the one that painted on the solicitor's door, because he comes out the back of the Rovers looking dodgy and then, for the sake of the camera, opens up his bag. He's like, "Ooh, look, I have got some paint in my bag. What will I do?" Why has he still got it there? I don't know. Okay, he should have. He
tried to throw it into the factory bin, and he's like, "Oh, there's some blood in here."
This is just full of bloodied garments. Yeah, so he's got it there. So he tries to put it in the bin out the back of the Rovers, which again, probably not the best place to put your evidence.
I mean, the Weatherfield bobbies are missing so many tricks here. Literally, the entire street is littered with evidence.
Oh, well, there's so many things that have been thrown away, like Jeff's camera. They've probably got a special section at the tip at Weatherfield as a.
Have you got evidence?
Special evidence
Can you put it
department.
in the evidence locker, aka the landfill?
Anyway, Shona catches him. She thinks that he's actually smuggling booze out of the pub, though. He's like, yeah. He goes along with this, and then he starts having to moan at her about Carla as well. What I really liked this week, and I don't know whether this is enough to make him my character of the week, because he wasn't really in it much apart from this, was Roy having a go at Simon. That was great, wasn't it? Simon gets a proper told off. He goes to the cafe, doesn't he, where Carla's there, and he starts having a go at her. And
starts being belligerent, little turd.
What does Roy say to him?
Stop being a belligerent little turd.
Yeah, basically. Which is great. I think if more people had told Simon that in the past, he wouldn't have turned out the way he has.
He's never heard the word no in his life.
More apart sobbing Sarah later.
When he said, "Is my rabbit Leanne still alive?"
Oh, so poor Leanne. More sobbing Sarah, who blames herself for letting Gary and Rick come between her and Adam. She says, "I need to go and put things right." So what she does, she goes to the hospital telephone booth, and she only goes and dobs Gary in for the killing of Rick Neelan and burying his body in the woods. Anonymously, of course. But that was a great cliffhanger at the end of Wednesday's episode.
Yep.
Finally, this could come to light. But then it doesn't really on Friday, does it? Oh, by the way, Debbie also goes round to number 13 to try and put things right with Kevin, but he's still not interested. Yeah, I was really but a lot of Wednesday's episodes, like, I'm feeling about this, and it's kind of 12 o'clock at night. But then when Sarah picks up the phone at the end of the episode, I did not know that was going to happen. I thought, oh, brilliant. They're going to be going to the woods on Friday. They're going to be digging up the body. Yeah. What's going to happen? But all we got was a couple of newspaper headlines, wasn't it? Saying, police are hunting in the woods for the body.
I wanted her to pick the phone up and go, "I know where the bodies are buried on the street."
This is a little tribute.
Yeah.
So that's on the front cover of the newspaper on Friday. Sarah's having a look at it, thinking, "Oh, did I do the right thing?" This is one of those moments when, again, the time of Weatherfield is like, is this the next morning? How did the newspapers find out about it to make it front page news the very next day after it was reported to the police last night?
I mean, Ken left such a legacy of amazing journalism in Weatherfield. And don't forget, we know Sarah doesn't age.
It's very true.
Yeah.
Nina is on her high horse about Simon laying into Carla also. That was quite fun. Ray's being a smug git toward David and Shona about the house, I'm guessing.
Arsiness.
And quite handily for plot purposes, he drops his keys, which clatter noisily onto the cobbles, but he doesn't realise.
He's like, "I don't need those, I can buy more, I'm rich." And then he gets in his car and somehow drives away.
Shona does spot it, though, and helps herself to them, later letting herself into the bistro with Simon, just so they can go and raid the booze together.
I'm still not sure about Simon and Shona.
He's only 17.
The whole time they're together, I'm like, is she going to molest him?
I know.
I don't want her to molest him. I don't want it to go there because this is too complicated.
Well, I am thinking it's not out of the realms of possibility, especially with Daisy, you know, trying to make a play for David in today's episode as well. I've got a feeling that them.
How old is Simon?
Simon is 17. He's 18
So it's
in
not
July. I looked this
actually-
up today.
It's not actually illegal. It's just icky.
It is just icky, yeah. So I don't know what order it's going to happen in. I'm thinking that maybe Simon and Shona are going to end up in bed together or something.
It's wrong.
And then David's going to go on the rebound to Daisy. That's what I'm thinking. And I don't like that idea.
I really want to know now. I want to know now.
We do have the plot synopses
Are they
up until the
going to
middle
get
of January in our
together?
inbox.
Because if not, I would actually really like to enjoy this quite weird and quirky friendship.
It is. It's quite nice and innocent
and I really
in the
hate
moment.
the fact that every single kind of adult befriending a child story is tinged with sinister undertones, which are completely inescapable. Because I know adults can be friends with children. Or not friends, but I know that there can be relationships between them that are not family ties that and
are not at all dodgy.
Yeah, and obviously Shona's struggling with her own. I just don't like it.
Look at Todd and his mate Will.
Lovely.
With the Jama GCSE.
Absolutely gorgeous relationship. It's sort of the thing. It sort of reminds me of Goodnight, Mr. Tom.
But then I'm also wondering, is what's going to happen there? Anyway, we're not on that story. Brian sees Bernie. Yeah, because he even though he's presumably been selling these gazettes all morning, it's not until he sees Bernie walking down the street that goes, hang on a minute, there was that story that we had 6 months ago when me and her were digging up the woods together with that metal detector. I wonder if any of this is linked. So
Brian's like, listen, love, I don't read them, I just sell them.
So he goes and tells Bernie, you got to let the police know about this whole watch situation. And what that situation was, what was it? This was literally the first week back of filming after lockdown, wasn't it? Where they were presumably going to go and be digging at Rick and all sorts. But all that really happened is we saw Brian and Bernie driving off Woodwards together. They come back. They haven't found Rick, but they have managed to locate his watch.
A gunmetal watch.
A gunmetal watch. You loved it when they mentioned gunmetal again.
Every time they say
Friday,
gunmetal, take a shot of Avoca. Yeah. Because it's Christmas.
And then Sarah ends up buying the watch because she wants to give it to Adam because he's got a broken clasp.
And this was like the fantastic debut of Sarah the Liar.
Yeah, debut. She's been lying for years.
Yeah, just really watches, and he collects them, and
she does
gunmetal. Everyone knows is his favourite colour.
At that time, she doesn't think there's anything dodgy with it, does she? But she later finds out. I don't care anymore. Gary gets hit by a car because Sarah's got the watch and he wants it back, and she finds out what it was. Anyway, basically...
Well, Bernie explains this.
Oh, yes, she explains it to the police later because she's talking to Baldy Detective, and she says...
That's not his name.
She says she sold it to Sarah, but Gary wanted it, and now he's a suspect in Adam's attacks. It is all linked, this story. But I think the last thing that people were told about the watch, Sarah says that she gave it to charity.
Yeah.
But actually, I think she put it in the bin. Yet another piece of evidence that's made its way binwards in Weatherfield.
Yeah.
So you just need to get up to that special evidence room at the tip, and then it'll all be fine.
Are we at the bit where Bernie's at the police station?
We're kind of skipping around all over the place. There's millions of stories combined into one.
I really like this bit because it reminded me, because at the moment, as I mentioned, is it earlier this podcast or the bonus podcast? I'm playing The Witcher 3 at the moment. I was going to play Cyberpunk 2077, but I only have a PlayStation 4, so I'm a lowly peasant who doesn't deserve nice things. So I went back to The Witcher 3, and this really, Bernie's sitting there spinning this tale of complicated, he said, she said, they did this and he did that, reminded me of a character giving you a side quest. Setting up why, and now the policeman's got to go on a fetch quest to find this watch to unlock who murdered Rick Neelan.
Well, she even sounded a bit like RPG character.
Yeah, she did, didn't she?
I'm quite good at finding things. That's my special skill.
Yeah. It's like, okay, so once I complete this quest, I can come back and try and unlock a bonus level where I get you to go and find the hidden jewels of the princess of the kingdom so that she can free the dragon from the evil clutches of the witch who lives in the mountain.
I did quite enjoy Bernie in this scene. I think when she's not doing silly things with Gemma and Chesney, I quite like her.
I also might retroactively forgive Coronation Street for the lunacy of her being able to find a ring on a mountainside in Wales. If it becomes a funny character quirk that she's like, I can find anything, me. I can find. What did she say she could find?
I don't know. She gave some other example.
Watch in the woods. I can find a ring on a mountain. I can find.
I don't know whether I like it as a character quirk or not, because I think it has become. And I don't know whether it was always going to be a quirk, or whether the Corrie writers realised that was stupid how we found. She found that ring up a mountain.
I think they're being cheeky and they're going, yeah, we know it's stupid, but this is part of how weird she is.
It's not a thing that people have, an ability to magically find things. It's not like I've got a natural talent for playing the piano, or I can hold my breath for 10 minutes.
Maybe she's got one of those St. Christopher things, and she does that thing. Was it St. Christopher where you turn around 3 times and you say, "Where's my stuff?" but in a rhyme?
I don't know.
I'm not Catholic.
Anyway,
isn't there's a saint?
There is. I know what you mean.
Saint
Bernadette. Oh.
Saint Bernadette. Where's my stuff? I would look for it, but I've had enough. And then she goes, bling, and shows you
I think that she's got a little special twig. You know how you can douse for water.
Dowsing. Now that's real, Michael. You can find ghosts with that.
Anyway, that's what Bernie's up to. Shona, meanwhile, is still in the bistro. She's getting merrily plastered. Simon seems to be able to hold his booze better than her.
I think they're both pretty merry.
So Shona was worse.
'Tis the season.
And she's lost her keys. So she has to phone up David, and Gail gets a bit of a cameo there because I don't know what to do with her at the moment.
thought that was funny. When she answered the phone, she's like, "What? You're stuck where? And you're doing what?" And then she tells David, and then he finds out exactly the same information because he didn't trust a girl. I thought it was funny.
Anyway, she ends up finding the keys in the fridge and lets herself and Simon out, and everything's fine. But Daisy's there, isn't she? Because earlier in the episode, David had gone to the pub. Daisy had stolen some beer from behind the bar. She is making mischief, the little minx, and then tried to blame it on David when Jenny comes back downstairs. And while David is there trying to
protest his innocence.
No. No, I'm saying later on when he's outside the bistro trying to figure out how he can get Shona out of there. Daisy's there enjoying it, but also seemingly trying to seduce David for future storyline purposes.
She's becoming a little bit of a Lady Todd.
She is.
She's like chaotic evil, like she's and profiting off of other people's misfortune and also being horny.
I preferred her chaoticness in the Johnny and Jenny stuff where she was just listening in and enjoying it.
I don't want her perving over David.
I don't want her perving over David. I don't need somebody to come between him and Shona.
Don't you dare.
It was bad enough when he slept with Emma that one time.
That was weird.
I'm still not sure about the new Shona really, but I don't need him jumping into bed with Daisy. Thank you very much, but it feels like it's been put out to the universe now, hasn't it?
Yeah.
She's part of his little storyline.
Yep.
So
for better or
watch
for
this space for that one. Anyway, the keys are in the fridge. They let themselves out. I think Daisy points out, wasn't there a fire exit that they could have used?
Well, surely it would have set off some kind of alarm.
Oh no, the alarm wasn't set, was it, for some reason?
The fire alarm?
Oh, the fire alarm.
But don't forget, Weatherfield firemen are like, let's just put themselves out. We'll give it an hour, and if it's still going, we'll go see.
Didn't we see somebody on the internet this week saying that what Alia clonked Jeff with on the roof?
Yes, we need to mention
was a fire
this.
hydrant.
Yes. I think that Coronation Street writers are probably really annoyed with everybody because they did try to show how Alia got through the fire by putting the fire out with a fire extinguisher that she then carried up to the roof.
But where did she get to the fire extinguisher from?
It doesn't matter where she got it from.
Because if it had been in the house, then surely Jeff would have used that to have put the fire out.
Okay, look, but obviously somebody went, hang on a minute, how's she going to do this? And then they thought they'd written a way out of it, and then nobody
Nobody
saw
noticed
it
because it was too dark.
Oops. But yeah, give them credit where credit's due. We will. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. Thank you for reminding me.
That's okay. Debbie finds out that Ray is selling his hotels and he's a bit skint at the moment. So that was a bit of a weird twist that didn't necessarily go anywhere.
Is he? Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's what she said.
Oh yeah, he's in danger.
Yes. Ray comes in. He's still mad at Debbie for saying that everyone's laughing at them.
One good thing about Ray is that he's bought himself 3-piece suits. So, if he ever becomes too skint, he can sell the waistcoats and keep the rest of the outfit, make a profit.
True.
Still look dapper.
He says, look, the investors are going to pull out if we go through with plan B,
yes,
Debbie. So...
because they didn't give you £1 million to build half a bloody complex with a blooming garage and a shop called The Cabin with a K next to it.
She goes over to see Kevin and says...
When you spell cabin with a K, you don't even get the advantage of coming higher in the alphabet when you were in the phone book. What are you thinking, calling it cabin with a K?
Well, I'd address your complaints to Len Fairclough.
He's dead.
Well, nothing you can do.
No, I know.
Debbie goes and sees Kevin and says, look, I am willing to take on Ray if you forgive me. Also, by the way, change is inevitable and gentrification is great. So, and Kevin's like, no. And it does kind of fit with his, caveman stick in the mud, isn't he?
Yeah, he's got a bee in his bonnet, and he probably, in about 6 months' time, he won't even remember what she did to him, but he'll know that he's mad at her.
He refuses to forgive her, so she goes back to Ray and says, right, forget plan B. The more houses and businesses that are destroyed in this, the better. I'm back with you again.
This is like the birth of a Disney villain.
So, and this is when he spots the empty glasses from earlier when Shona and Simon were in there, and he's a bit confused about what's been going on. And then he thinks, oh, maybe we need to look at the CCTV. And that was a very odd way. It wasn't the end of the very end of the episode, but that was the last that we saw of that story.
I thought this was kind of good because I was like, it made total logical sense why nobody mentioned the glasses until the very end of the episode, because this random investor guy lets himself into the bistro and sees glasses everywhere and doesn't think this is suspicious because he just thinks they're lazy arseholes who didn't bother cleaning up after themselves. Debbie comes in and sees him sitting with a bunch of cocktails in front of him and probably thinks to herself, what a lush, I don't care. And then Ray comes in and sees the pair of them with a load of cocktails in front of him and thinks, cheeky beggars.
Yeah.
But then he asks why have they been drinking cocktails? Because really, if you're having a business meeting in a wine bar, you're not going to start mixing up blimmin' Long Island iced teas, are you?
No.
Even though they do have a very nice looking festive cocktail menu.
I think I forgot to mention earlier about the fact that when Shona and Simon get out of the bistro, Ray turns up in his car, so they all scatter.
Yeah, that was funny. That reminded me of when you were a little kid and you were up to something, and then an adult came and you all went, run away, and all ran in different directions.
So he's presumably going to find out that she and Simon were in there and maybe use that
and
as...
I don't know.
I mean, he's already got the house off of David. I don't know what more he can...
Like, hey, David, help me, otherwise I'm going to press charges against your wife, probably.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, find out. We also had in that episode, speaking of David, there was a nice little scene with him and Gail towards the end of the episode where he's saying, I don't think I can go on with this anymore. It's so difficult, still being married to Shona. I'm tired of it all. Maybe it'd be better if I was single. I just need a bit of peace and quiet. So he's obviously questioning his relationship, which is going to be give him more of an opportunity to be infiltrated by evil Daisy. And also we had Gary accusing Sarah of dobbing him up and says, well, if I get picked up by the police about this, then I'm just going to tell them that you've known all along and you'll be in trouble too. And he also, of course, still remembers that he still knows about the Callum thing. So they're still in the same stalemate that they were back in the summer.
No, they're not, because the police are going to find the body.
Or will they?
I think they will.
I saw a good theory online, and I don't think this is based on any particular spoilers or anything, but I said I saw somebody suggesting that what Gary was doing on that night when he was
Moving the
driving
body?
around was moving the body.
Digging up the corpse.
Yeah.
Digging up the corpse.
So,
put it on a double
and I
end,
quite like that
digging up
idea.
the corpse.
So the fact that, you know, that they're going to dig around, because they still hadn't found it.
But
On
can I
Friday, they
just
spent the
point
whole
out-
day digging,
Yeah,
so
I
they must
know.
have been digging
But
a bit
it's
of...
a massive load of woods. They wouldn't know where it was. And you know Bernie found the watch, but it doesn't mean that it was next to the body.
I can't remember whether Sarah knows exactly where the body was. I'm guessing that maybe she didn't, but...
The thing is, if he did... I know that's a really good theory. And Coronation Street isn't real life, so this wouldn't necessarily... Like real life complications don't affect it. But really, if he were to go to... If they were looking for this body, number one, I don't think they just leave the crime scene by itself, unguarded, after they told everyone, we're going to look for in the woods for a murder victim. Number one. Number two, they would find a recently disturbed grave. You can't hide digging. It would be obvious.
That is true.
Especially
true.
this time of year with the way that the leaves are, you would see the disturbance in the leaf. You wouldn't be able to put them back the right way.
And it's not... Yeah, I mean, they would have found that, and there would have been some evidence left behind as well, wouldn't there?
Yeah.
It's not like, oh,
Well,
there was something here, but I guess we'll never know what it was. Maybe it was a body.
Maybe it was some potatoes. Maybe somebody planted some potatoes.
Wood potatoes.
Mm.
So... it felt to me a little bit with this story this week, with the Gary side of it, that maybe this should have happened back in Britain's Got Talent week, and massive rewrites have pushed this part of it towards the end of the year, because there was an awful lot of almost picking up from where that left off.
Yeah.
And I know they filmed that some of that was filmed after lockdown, the whole car crash, well, not the car crash, you know, digging at the body, Gary getting hit by the car and everything, but it felt like that temporarily put it on hold, because Bernie going to the police station, mentioning the watch, Sarah dobbing Gary in, a lot of what happened there could have happened back in May time. And
Yeah.
I know Ian McLeod has said certain stories were pushed back. I mean, we said the same about the Yasmin, haven't
Jeff,
we?
yeah.
The fact that she was due to have a trial, and then all of a sudden, oh, she's had a heart attack, we're going to have to put the trial back to November, December time.
And I'm sure she'll never have a dodgy ticker again now.
And if that's the case, then was the Ray story going to... Was the original plan for that to completely dominate this anniversary week, and then would it have been a lot bigger then? Would Gary have already been arrested or whatever at this point? I don't know. Did you get that feeling at all?
Yeah, it definitely it did feel a bit like we'd sort of been watching a different program like on Netflix, and then we remembered, oh yeah, do you remember that show we were watching about a guy that got buried in the woods? Should we pick that one back up again? And we're like, oh, it's really handy that this character's gone to the police to tell them everything that's happened in one nice big juicy paragraph, so that I can remember all the stuff that I've forgotten in the intervening months. I don't mind it though. This is just unfortunate, and you have to roll with some of this stuff.
Yeah, I know.
And I really like the whodunit stuff.
You're enjoying the whodunit more than me.
I love it so much. I
Why
know it's
are you enjoying
formulaic, but I don't care. I find it fascinating. It's because it draws out all the conflicts that I like, you know, between people and their motivations. This is the thing I've always said. Soaps have, like, live or die on how well they convince you a character is motivated to do whatever weird stuff they're going to have them do. And Coronation Street is not very good sometimes about setting up a logical and emotionally rewarding motivation for characters. But when it comes to whodunits, they really have to put the work in to establish everybody's conflicts and why they're doing what they're doing. And that's where it all comes out in the best possible way in a whodunit in Corrie.
I'm just finding with this one, I don't think I'm invested enough in enough of the main characters that are involved.
I don't think you care that Adam's been...
I don't... No.
It's not the same. I think it's because you're comparing it to Ken.
The Ken one was such a brilliant story, and it was Ken.
I know.
It's like, I don't really care about whether Adam lives or dies. And also, it's like, I'm pretty sure they're not going to kill him. I mean, I suppose I could have said that with Ken. We knew that Ken was going to be okay. But I just remember feeling at the time, I really want to know who did this, because it could be any of them. So many people had a motive, and what's going to happen when it's revealed who it is.
Yeah.
But with this, it feels like we're going to find out who it is, then I'll go, oh, it's them. And I still think that Simon is, you know, he's quite high up on my personal suspect list at the moment. I don't want it to be like, I knew it was Simon. He wasn't on the suspect list. Interestingly, though, the fact that they have released that official suspect list, which is, what is it, Carla, Peter, Sarah Lou, and Gary, I think, they're making quite a big thing of the fact that Simon's looking guilty, which they wouldn't, if they wanted to hide the fact that it could have been him.
No, but they told you that it was him that spray painted it to try to. He is guilty about that.
But
and he's
if
not...
they want to surprise us with, aha, it was Simon, then surely they shouldn't this early on be saying Simon did the spray painting, because then lots of viewers are going to start to suspect, oh, maybe it was him that hit Adam, and they don't want us to be thinking maybe it was him that hit Adam.
I don't think Simon's bright enough to pull off 2 perfect crimes in one night.
I mean, I suppose the fact that there are 2 crimes there, there's no reason why, you know, the same person should have been both of them. So maybe Simon is just a bit of a red paint herring.
That's what I
think.
Which
still leaves us the question of who is it, and maybe it is Faye. I don't know. There's another good theory going around online that there's. Did we talk about the mistaken identity theory last week? I can't remember. People thinking that somebody thinking it was actually Ray.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether that holds that much water, because they look different enough. But I know his head was down on the bar and everything. But if the intended victim could have been Ray, then
it opens up a whole new world of possibilities.
But would Faye have done that? I don't know whether she's got it in her.
I don't think it would make sense for Faye to do that.
Kill someone and leave it for dead.
Because
she's not. She's good. She's too nice a character.
Well, it also. The sort I don't want to say things that I'm not qualified to say, but it feels to me like the profile of a person who's a victim of what Faye is a victim of is somebody who is fairly passive and tries to sort of like people please, and Faye got herself into that situation. Like, she didn't get herself into the situation. Faye found herself in that situation because she was intimidated by Ray, and she couldn't really work out how to say no, and he kind of made it that she couldn't. That kind of situation doesn't make me think that the person who gets into that situation is the same kind of person who's going to creep up behind somebody who's unconscious and hit them over their head. Like, it's a different sort of personality type, isn't it?
Yeah.
Faye, like, if they wanted to do something dramatic with Faye, I don't know, it just doesn't feel like something that a woman who was the victim of perhaps rape would do to a man. It's not a crime of passion, and she wasn't being threatened by him at that moment. There's just because a woman's
she doesn't seem like she's the sort of person that would go back there to take revenge or
like dispassionately kind of dispatch him.
No.
And I think that I'm not saying that women wouldn't do a crime like that. That's not true. But I am saying that, you know, it feels like a different personality type.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like
it feels like the sort of thing that Abby would do.
Yes.
I can see Abby sort of being attacked by a sex case and then going and trying to bludgeon him to death later on. But Faye is far too young and...
but the thing is, she does... Like, she quits her job at the bistro right afterwards, doesn't she? Which could look guilty if you think that, you know, she's just trying to distance herself from the place where she left this guy for dead. And also there was a scene, was it on Wednesday or Friday? I can't remember, where Tim and Sally are discussing prison things, and Faye's looking... It felt like she was looking a little bit uncomfortable. So it wouldn't surprise me.
But don't forget, these are all of this stuff has been thrown in to make you think, oh, whoever you're watching in the scene at that moment, it must be them that did it.
Yeah, totally. Which is why you're really enjoying it. It's just not grabbing me, but I think it is the the Hugh Bush Ken comparisons and the fact that the characters involved I'm not as into, and also, like I was complaining about earlier in the podcast, everybody involved in the storyline is as bad as each other for nastiness, smugness. That they aren't, you know, there's nobody there that I think, oh, I hope it's not so and so because so and so is so nice. It's like, well,
I can imagine a similar story like set in the Rovers, and one of the suspects is Emma, and then you'd be like, no, not Emma.
Yeah. But
I don't care.
I don't think it was Gary now, because I think that
who got murdered or not murdered. I just love a whodunit.
I think that Gary, I pretty certainly believe this moving the body theory. The fact that he was asking Maria to be an alibi for him, be an alibi for him. So at the time we're supposed to think, oh, why does he want an alibi? And this is why. It's not covering up that he was attacking Adam. It was covering up he was moving the body.
Because Sarah saw him out, and Sarah was suspicious. Sorry, Ken.
Yeah, I don't know what Sarah's doing. And I was just going to say as well, and I don't know whether this is just, you know, from a viewer's point of view. Gary says, I was driving around all night trying to find Ray. Ray's only ever in one of two places. He's either in the bistro or he's in his hotel. So I don't believe there's ever a moment where you can't find Ray.
Well, also, the other thing is, if he's not in those two places, there's nothing about the process of driving around Weatherfield at night in a car that would make you believe you would stumble across Ray. Ray's not going to be walking down to the offie, coming back with a bag of lager in one hand and pork scratchings in the other, is he? He's going to be flitting around in his fancy car. You're not going to see him.
No, he's not lit up like a ray of light.
I mean, we live near my parents and one of my friends. I wouldn't go if I phoned them up and they weren't home, I wouldn't just go driving around the neighbourhood in the hopes I would stumble across them. I certainly wouldn't actually do it.
I think that Gary was making the point of saying I went to the places where I would expect to find him. But I thought that on that Friday night he was at the hotel with Debbie. I think we literally saw him there on the Friday episode.
Then he's suspicious then, isn't he, Michael?
He is very suspicious.
Exactly. See, this is why I like it. There's a lot to talk about. I would rather talk about why did Gary dig up a corpse in the woods I don't know whether Peter and Carla should get back together or not, because I don't care.
I think that if he didn't dig up a corpse in the woods,
he certainly should have had a go, because he had plenty of time to do it.
He would be a lot more bothered by these newspaper headlines. Like there was a bit where he overheard them discussing it on the radio, and he saw the newspaper headlines, but if I thought I'm about to be discovered,
Cripes.
I'd be rushing off to go and sort something, or just trying to leave the country. But he seems like he's relatively chill.
At least he's not tier 4.
Yes, exactly.
You could just say I'm travelling for work.
Anything to add? We've talked about. I've just looking at our discussion points here, and we ended up talking about most of them as we've gone along. I did really like the model that they made of the development.
Yes.
I wonder how long that took to put together. Whoever made the prop designer who made the little model Coronation Street and the big block of flats. Well done. I wonder what happens to it. Is that just going to get put into the prop department? Can I have it, please?
Somebody's going to take it home with them.
Because once this story's out the way, I don't think they need that particular model.
Where are you going to put it? Just because we've made space in this house, it's not mean we're going to have a scale model of a scrapped development in Coronation Street. I already went around after you today.
I loved how it was nicely detailed.
Earlier today, I had to go round after Michael and pick up weird ornaments that he put. He's got no idea about where to put things.
It's because 95% of the bits and bobs in this house are yours.
Yeah, because we don't display weird crap like you buy. You've got 4 shelves of amiibos in the hallway.
Yeah, but that's it. They're all together.
Because it looks nice together.
Yeah, but I was just saying.
And what can you see?
Stuff is all over the house.
Look, a vase.
No, I just find that your candles and your ornaments candles. And your ladies' things.
What, my chandelier of tampons?
Debbie, what are you thinking about the fact that she
is... You can't put weird trinkets
on a redemptive
You're trying
arc.
To sell a house. You're trying to sell a lifestyle. You don't put a little model replica of the front of Coronation Street in Pride of Place in the hallway.
Oh, yeah, I tried to put my Corrie, but Gemma took it down.
I put it in the drawer.
What are you thinking of Debbie? Do you think that she's going to come out of this smelling of roses?
No.
And I know she's gone back to saying, okay, Debbie, okay, Ray, I'm back on your side again.
I think she's going to be a villain for a little bit, and maybe she'll just come out of this a bit, you know.
Do you think that?
Whoopsie-doo.
Do you think that Sue Devaney is going to stay on the show? Because I don't think that she's got a
I
12
just had
month.
deja vu.
I don't think that she's got a 12-month contract.
No, I don't think so.
It's a shame because
I love her.
Ever since it's been revealed that she's been working with Ray all this time, I've had a complete 180 on the character who I just thought was fine
It's because
beforehand.
she's an
I'm loving
antagonist.
her.
It's because she's an antagonist, and
Really
they're more
great
interesting.
actress. Yeah, she could have a long-term.
And there are very few female antagonists
Yeah.
that aren't like, I'm a sexy man-eater, like Daisy.
I just think that she's
Not that
got
not
she's
sexy,
got something
she's
about
got
her.
some
She's got that spark.
Stonking cheekbones.
Any further theory? What do we think Sarah was doing?
See, I suspect Sarah because she did that all dramatic comeback from bonking her husband on the head and go, some people just deserve to die in a pile of chips and blood.
Pretending to be talking about
And she
Jeff.
saw Gary, he had it coming, some people do. And she saw Gary walking around. What was she doing there? She lied about going out and Harry saw her.
Some people, again, another theory I saw on the internet, which I guess has been whatever'd now, is that Gary and Sarah were at it that evening together, but the way that they were talking at the end of Friday's episode means
Well,
that they weren't.
you don't phone up the police on your boyfriend.
Well, no, it could have just been a night of passion that she then regretted.
I'm going to tell everyone that you got a body buried in the woods because that was a really bad shag.
Yeah, I don't think it's been made obvious where Sarah was, and you're right, the fact that she snapped at Harry means that there's something suspicious going on there, and I think with everything else that's been going on, the viewers have been, distracted, and we're not supposed to be thinking about that too much yet.
Also,
But
the other thing is...
it doesn't feel like Sarah would do that.
No, I know, it doesn't feel like Sarah would do it, but at the same time, the other thing that we're always stuck with in these situations is the consequences of the action, and what are the consequences going to be? Are you going to lose a character because they attacked somebody?
Well, this is why if it's Simon or something like that,
off
then
to Borstal.
Well, the Barlows will close ranks in situations like this, won't they? Like when Daniel turned out to be the one that pushed Ken down the stairs. It's like, right, protect the family. Don't let anybody know.
But if Adam finds out that Sarah's the one that did it, he might refuse to help the police, and then she gets away with it because he would,
He feels guilty for sleeping with Carla, and he's like, okay, I slept with Carla, you hit me over the head, fair square, even Stevens.
Yeah,
let's get on with life.
Yeah, I can see Adam being the sort of guy who's like, well,
it'd just be a shame if there were no consequences to this. I suppose even with the Ken,
Coronation Street,
with Ken and Daniel, they did have a bit of a falling out for a while afterwards.
Coronation Street has been lacking on consequences for naughtiness for a while now.
Jeff got his just desserts just last week.
But Gary killed a man, and he's still not got. And also, don't forget
I think there is more to come.
The secret with Callum is still hidden. That was 5 years ago or whatever.
Yeah. Mm.
And then, Daniel didn't actually get in trouble for pushing Ken down the stairs.
No.
And Daniel's been a reprehensible toe rag for many a month now, and he's not been punished. Smug bastard.
Yeah, so Sarah, maybe. I just think that after everything that happened with Callum, why would she do that? I mean, she had a mental breakdown after keeping the secret of dead Callum underneath the granny annex.
If we're going to talk about what kind of person out of the cast of characters we have who is going to be rash enough to do that, cold-blooded enough, but also stupid enough to not actually check he's dead. Really, none of them fit the bill, apart from Simon, probably, because he's young and he's
not stupid
silly
enough to check he's dead. I could see Sarah doing that. Anyway, I think we've talked enough about this story, so should we go on to the other littler stories for the week?
Yeah.
Okay, right, the Paul storyline then, Gemma. I've spoken a lot. I'm going to pass over to you. What's he been up to?
I was trying to subtly tell you to make the window smaller.
Oh, sorry.
You're ignoring me.
I'll make the window smaller. Here you go. Better call Paul, Gemma. Over to you. You just remembering back, just having a quick skim of the notes.
I'm not
what happened
that
this
bothered.
week.
Can we skip this?
No.
Okay, on Monday, Paul... Right, Todd sets up this weird plan so that he can get half naked in Billy and Paul's house. So he tells Paul he hasn't got a shower in his house anymore, and Paul says, use ours if you want. So Todd goes there and it sets himself up so that when Billy comes home, he'll not have his clothes on. And Billy's like, how dare you? And Todd's like, what do you mean? And then Billy says, I'm sorry, come to lunch with us. So they all go to have lunch, and Billy's like, I'm sorry, I will get used to you and meet you in the spirit of friendship, as Jesus might well have done. Because Jesus was always letting people use the shower.
Yeah.
On Wednesday, Paul is
There's
driving
been an
off.
awful lot of nakedness and half nakedness in that flat recently, hasn't there?
Well, you know, this is why they had to get rid of Matilda Freeman. Because, you know, I think
Not a
they
suitable
probably,
environment for a young girl.
I also think that they would have to be put on a register if they were to appear in the same set that she had been in without their shirts unbuttoned. Paul has had a particularly tough day on the helpline on Wednesday, and so he's driving off, having a duvet day. Todd goes round because he sees him walking from the shop with his lager, and they both get drunk. Well, I think Paul gets more drunk.
Yeah, Todd's very much in control because he starts talking about, he says, oh, do you remember that time? Remember that episode when, well, you don't remember. That time when Marcus and I were caught at it in the show home by Audrey. Where's the strangest place you've had sex then, Paul? Knowing full well that it's going to...
involve a paedophile.
It's going to evoke some sad and difficult
he
memories
was like,
in young Paul.
Oh yeah, sorry, this just reminds me about when I thought I was happy, but none of it was real. And Todd says, oh, you can talk to me if you want to. And so Paul then opens up a bit more to Todd about this phone call that I mentioned. And Todd's like, difficult phone call causes you to have a mental health break. You have to take the whole day off work to recover emotionally. Sign me up. I'm an emotional vampire. I'd love to work in a helpline for people that have been abused. Great. So Paul, obviously, having all his marbles in the basket, says, great, yeah, we always need psychopaths working at the helpline. I mean, Ted Bundy was brilliant at it. You'd be great. Billy tells Paul later about how cosy he and Todd look together. On Friday, Todd goes in to do this call centre thing. Billy's had to do a sermon at Christmas. The vicar's got toothache. I mean, it's the 9th, you know, we're recording this now on the 19th. I think he could sort his tooth out before Christmas. I think he just doesn't like Christmas. Imagine being a vicar that didn't like Christmas.
But to be fair, he's only just become the vicar of St Mary's, hasn't he? Because if Billy's, you know...
The archdeacon.
Now he's been the archdeacon for a month or so. This guy, he wasn't maybe expecting to have to do a Christmas sermon this year.
I just love the fact
just want to come up with an excuse.
The new vicar of St Mary's has phoned Billy up and said, Billy, God, I need your help. Help me, please. Can you do the sermon on Christmas Day? And Billy went, let me just check. I'll phone up the bishop. Hi, Bishop. What duties does an archdeacon fulfil on Christmas Day? And the bishop says, honestly, Billy, it's a DOS. You don't have to do nothing. It's great.
Get the vicars to do
You
it
wait
all.
till you become the bishop. You don't have to do anything.
Ever.
You just say that you're in silent contemplation and they leave you alone. That's fantastic. Yeah, do what you like. Fill your boots. You want to do a Christmas sermon? Go on then. That's more work than I've done in the last 10 years. I'll tell you that for nothing. So anyway, he's sweating over this sermon. And so off go...
Well, do you remember, this bishop has only been bishop for a few years in Weatherfield, because it used to be John the Bishop, didn't it?
Yeah.
But this new bishop realised what an easy job it is.
Suspiciously absent and not mentioned at all is John the Bishop. What has he got up to that he's now been excommunicated?
He's archbishop.
Maybe he's now a Buddhist.
No.
Oh, okay. Well, you seem to know a lot about it. So they off go, Todd and Billy and Todd and Paul, to a new set.
It was like they'd found a little cupboard somewhere on
Yeah.
the Coronation Street setting. You know, when you think of a call centre, I think of just like rows and rows of people, all with their little computers and phone and phones and
The
everything.
canny thing about this is that it's quite COVID safe, isn't it? Because they've got little cubbies that they can sit in.
Yes, so there was enough room for 2 people on the phone lines.
Yeah.
Paul and
Somebody
and
else.
somebody. Oh, that's handy. There's a job open for somebody on the helpline, and it seemed that their security wasn't, you know, as good as it should be.
Well, I mean, what vetting do they do? When was the last time you bit up a policeman and hid in the woods? Oh, 3 years ago.
That's
okay.
fine. Yeah.
Yeah, if it was the last 12 months, we'd have to
I have to
make
say,
you fill out
thanks,
this
but no thanks. Come back
questionnaire.
next year.
No, you have to do a personality questionnaire, and if you come out, you have to say which friend you are, and if you come out as Joey, you can't do it, but Phoebe's fine.
I think we had I think it was Hill maybe on the Facebook group last night posting that you don't have somebody that's not a Samaritan walking around listening in to phone calls where Samaritans are talking to potentially vulnerable people. And also it seemed very
Well, if you could, they'd be able to sell tickets.
and also having what was I going to say?
You don't just let people come off the street.
Don't let people come off the street. Oh, and also you don't get if somebody starts to get too attached to one particular
they don't have a friend that
caller,
always phones.
then alarm bells start ringing.
Yeah, sounds like a badly run helpline. Unless, listen, we are assuming this is a helpline set up to help people who are victims of sexual abuse, but it might be that helpline that you can phone up when you can't put together your IKEA furniture.
It's anything. Any help needed.
I need to phone up this helpline just to let you know. It says on the can, do not boil. This will impart the flavour. And I don't know if I've wrecked it now. Is this chicken soup still safe to eat?
Yeah. My significant other has bought me a unicorn onesie for my birthday. Can I get away with wearing it? And Paul's like, absolutely.
Oh, you've got to.
Unicorn onesie, height of fashion.
I have to wear it all the time. I'm under pressure. My boyfriend is the Archdeacon. If he sees I don't wear his unicorn onesie, he's going to condemn me to hell.
I hate that bloody unicorn onesie. Every time Paul wears it, it's just like, why? Why is that now part of his costume?
Did you guys lose the neon blinking sign that says "I'm gay" in the wardrobe department? Is that the only thing you could find?
It was maybe slightly funny the first time it was on, but now it just winds me up. It's like, that doesn't look like the sort of thing that I think Paul would wear.
I don't think Paul would wear that. And also, those onesies are made of like the most sweaty polyester. He must be burning his balls off. Anyway, we're here to talk about the call centre. Todd's like, oh yeah, I like to work here, please. And he starts texting. Then we get Paul on a phone call with somebody who's frightened of his stepdad. He only wants to talk to Paul. It's a regular client, I guess. And Todd...
it's this little boy, Will.
Todd sees him giving his number out, which he's not supposed to do. And then later on, they have a little chat, and Paul tells Todd the secret that he is in contact with this guy. Don't tell anybody, he says. Todd's like, I won't tell anybody. I think you're so great. You can do anything you like. I'll keep it a secret. Billy's got to bring and buy market stall. I also assume it's got a pole that you can lick for £5.
It doesn't seem particularly COVID safe, did it?
Super spreader
Paul's supposed
event.
to be helping out, but he keeps making his excuses because he's getting this Will's phoning him up.
Yeah, so then he has a meet. No, the kid phones him up and says, I really need your help. And he's like, fine, I'll meet up with you or something.
Yeah, they meet in Kitchener Street, don't they, on the back of a cafe.
Paul is like, oh, I need to go off. He meets him in Kitchener Street. Will's like, oh, I don't want to go to the police about my stepdad. I want to stay with you. And Paul's like, no, you can't stay with me. If you don't let me help you the right way, we're both going to get in trouble. And then Will's like, oh, nobody helps me. Nobody wants to help me. And
he says, this country doesn't do anything for me. I thought this was sounding like
weird.
some kind of radicalisation storyline incoming here.
That's true, but this country does nothing for me. It's like, it sounded like a 68-year-old Brexiteer.
Yeah.
He's like annoyed that he can't go to Marbella. So anyway, he goes off in a huff. But Paul gets home. Billy's annoyed that he abandoned him at the bringer by. He can't seem to win. Billy's still struggling with this sermon, and for some reason says he's going to do it about John Lewis, not the department store that everybody in this country knows about. No, the civil rights activist who is very, very famous in America. But you would be. I don't think I'm a stupid person, but I think you'd be hard pressed to find many people in a sermon in a group of churchgoers who knew the particulars of John Lewis's life.
That's probably why it's a good topic for a sermon. They can learn something new. So I already know the bit about the baby in the stable.
Why is Christmas Day the time to educate people about a civil rights leader who died this year?
I don't know.
Tell us the one about the baby. Tell us the one about the hotel that didn't have adequate facilities for people that had to go back to the place of their birth for tax purposes.
Wants to just try something new.
Don't do it,
This could
Billy.
possibly be his last ever Christmas sermon now that he's the Archdeacon. Wants to go out with a bang. Anyway.
I can just see Emily heckling him from the back here if he starts
I'd love it if
getting a
Emily
bit.
heckled him was there to heckle him.
You don't
He
need to
starts.
come out with something new and original on Christmas. Nobody wants new and original anything at Christmas. Nobody trying to sell you on Christmas. Would you like to cook this traditional, like this new fancy popping candy bacon dish? No, everybody wants traditional, same, everything routine, nothing new or surprising.
Well, he didn't want to go that route. He's doing his sermon writing and telling Paul how awesome he is, obviously, and also he brings up, just coincidentally, I knew somebody once who worked in a call centre and they overstepped the line, overstepped their boundaries, and they gave out their number and they ended up losing their job. But you're so great, Paul, you'd never do that, would you?
Paul's
like,
gulp. But it's a trick all along. It turns out Todd meets up with Will, who's just making the whole thing up, and he even had a fake limp. And Todd's like, haha, we'll get this horrible man and get Billy to dump Paul. Somehow that will lead to this.
I think lots of people, judging by the reactions online, were quite surprised by this twist. But I had said halfway through the episode, didn't I? I bet that this guy is working with Todd.
Yeah.
Because it was that little bit of texting that Todd was doing when they got to the call centre, and then that was never picked up. So, 20 minutes or whatever later, I was like, what's going on there? Todd's obviously up to something. It's not been made clear what it is yet. So I think that this is actually somebody working. But then when Will turned up and saw Paul...
He's a pretty good actor.
He came across as very believable. So I thought, maybe not. But
Well, I said to you, there's no way that Paul... Todd is not involved in Paul's downfall at this helpline, because what's the point of him being involved in the story? There's literally no point of him being involved in the story if Paul is going to make the mistakes all on his own without any help or intervention from Todd.
But
It's obvious as soon as that happened that Todd was behind it in some way.
But Todd's plan would have only worked if Paul was stupid enough to give his number out, which is why it doesn't quite work for me. It's like,
it doesn't. It's like,
sorry,
maybe
Paul,
he should actually be fired if he doesn't understand that the rules are there to protect him and the boy that he's trying to help.
I'm a bit fed up of Paul being a bit too holier than thou.
Paul's the perfect combination of holier than thou and a bit dim.
Yeah, he is. He just comes across to me as being really dim.
He is.
And then when he gave out his number, I was like, what are you doing, you idiot?
Yeah, I know. You can't... Yeah,
you got it. Whatever you got
difficult.
coming to you, sorry, it's your own fault.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think we're supposed to go, oh, Paul, yes, I would probably do the same if I was in your position as well, because I also am kind-hearted Samaritan-like person. I was thinking, no, you're an idiot. You don't do that.
It's kind of like in our house when...
It's not making him likeable.
When the same mouse keeps being brought in by Abby. There's only so many times I'm going to save you. After a while, I think you brought it on yourself. I'll give you plenty of time to run away.
Yeah,
Why are you still there?
to have your face eaten off.
Yeah, and have your kidneys left dotted around the
bathroom.
Yeah.
I'm still kind of enjoying the fact that Todd is doing his meddling.
Yeah, it just feels a bit all too convenient and rather contrived.
It was a little bit too convenient that things went his way this week. I think that quite possibly on Christmas Day while Billy is out giving his sermon, that could be an opportunity for Todd to make his move on Paul. And I think I don't know whether he's really that interested in Paul. He just wants... He's going to set up some situation that Billy comes back from the Christmas service and discovers, Todd and Paul...
Stuffing the turkey.
Together, yeah. Or both of them inside the unicorn onesie at once.
Going, yeah, it's sweaty, isn't it?
So it's all right. It's fine.
Thank you, Hill, for writing in to let us know about...
Oh, yeah. Well, I forgot I copied our notes.
The situation, and very heartened to know that this would be completely verboten.
It's a bit weird because they usually, they've worked with charities before.
Yeah, I know, but they're not working. Before. They're not working with a charity for this storyline, are they?
No.
And I'm surprised, but I haven't read an article in the Sun. Somebody going, Samaritans lash out at Coronation Street's depiction of helplines, fearing it may put people off from contacting them during this busy festive period, and we all need to support.
It was a bit irresponsible, but it was all right. It was
irresponsible, but was it more irresponsible than having a grown man wearing a unicorn onesie and making it that is a acceptable fashion choice?
The Jeff storyline. Yasmin, we only get to see like one scene of her or something, didn't we, this week?
She's being
scuttling
elusive.
Inside when she gets away. Oh no, no, there was two. She gets away from Nina through the window at the beginning of Mondays, and she scuttles and hides inside. Yasmin. Oh no, we don't. We got to see more of it at the beginning of the week. I'm mixing this up. Monday is when the idea of the funeral is mooted, isn't it? And Yasmin is all for giving Jeff some kind of send off because she feels that as his widow, she is duty bound to give him a good send off.
I think I really liked Yasmin for being very sensible here. I think this is very correct. I don't like Jeff. I don't think he's awful, but I think even the worst scumbag in the world, there's a certain level of dignity that you retain for yourself if you are willing to give them dignity. You see what I mean? Like you retain a piece of your humanity if you're able to extend that courtesy to somebody that doesn't deserve it.
All very true, but I also would quite like to see him having a funeral where his coffin needs to be jiggled in some way to get going. I'm just thinking I'm thinking of a mixture of Lewis Archer's funeral where they were fighting over the conveyor belt, and I think it was Fred's funeral maybe. I think that his coffin wouldn't fit through the hole or something like that, and I think it would be nice bit of poetic justice if his coffin gets stuck and somebody's shouting jiggle it, and then they all burst out laughing at the funeral. I think that would be
Kathy
fun.
Say jiggle away, Jeff, or something. They already had that.
I think there's still time for one more, honestly. Anyway, Elaine is she's moved on, hasn't she, from this situation?
Elaine
she's come out of her shell this
week.
Said
this last week, maybe, I can't remember. She's totally blossomed into just a really put together, sensible, switched on, emotionally sensitive person who is totally able to work out what people need from each relationship and how much she's willing to give. She's not going, oh, but Tim needs me now, I need to be there for him for all the years she's like, I don't know, this kid seems a bit clingy.
Yeah, because that's basically how the story goes on Monday and Wednesday, isn't it? He says, oh, Mum, you can come and live with me now.
Mum, look at this, Mum, look at this.
And they kind of struggle
I can read and write now.
to think of some mother-son bonding activities to do. So they play some board games or something, I can't remember. And then Elaine comes around the house again on Wednesday to bring some jewellery for Faye. And this is when Tim says that I reckon there's something up with Faye, which obviously links to the Ray thing, but that's a different story. He makes a speech then about, if your kids are going through something, they shouldn't be doing it alone, which makes Elaine think, my son's going through something here, maybe I should not be trying to get away. So she hangs about with him, learns about his past, and says, look, I want to go slowly with you, Tim. I want to get it right. Let's take our time rather than me just coming to live with you. Which seems fair enough. I'm surprised that she's still here, to be honest. I thought that maybe last week would be the last time we'd see her.
It feels like there's more for her. There's something else that she's going to do, and I don't know what it is, but I'm hoping it's move in with Yasmin.
Maybe.
I would love it if she helped Yasmin regain her confidence.
Yeah.
I don't know that Alia can do that because Alia's just desperate for everything to be back how it used to be. And she, although she's seen what her gran went through, she can't relate on an emotional level like Elaine can. I think it would be nice.
Yeah. It doesn't feel like she's staying long term again because she's not on a permanent contract. Oh, sorry, not a permanent contract. That'd be lovely. She's not on a 12-month contract at the moment. Maybe she'll just stick around and help her with the funeral, even though she's not. Because she doesn't want the funeral, does she, Elaine? She thinks that Jeff should just be forgotten about.
I don't understand how you can like, whether you hated or loved somebody, when they die, I don't know how you can just go, that's it then. You know, I would need closure.
Yeah, we're all different, aren't we? And I think I think that Yasmin will struggle, and Elaine, who has been saying no, he doesn't need this, will help her in some way, and then
because Elaine was like a kind of quivering wreck not that long ago.
No, I know. Literally 2-3 weeks ago, wasn't she? She's just glad he's dead.
I don't know how realistic this reaction is, but it is interesting.
Yeah.
I would like to imagine that, you know, perhaps this is as realistic as Yasmin. Yasmin's reaction feels very honest.
I'm sad that we didn't get to see more of Yasmin this week.
I'm sad
considering that she was, you know, the star of the show last week.
I'm also sad that we didn't get to see like Yasmin triumphantly running around the street, you know, spending whatever money she wanted on groceries
and meeting up with her friends,
flagrantly ignoring Red Crosses everywhere. Yeah, meeting up with Kathy for a little bit of a.
She hasn't been to the Rovers,
chat,
and maybe you're not going to just say, "Oh, I'm back to normal," but she's not really been. She's not been reintegrated back into the community yet.
Unless this is a story about what happens to Yasmin after this, I'm kind of upset because if it is a story, great, because then we can examine what the ramifications of this really are. If it's not a story, can we not just have a feel-good moment for Yasmin after all these months of misery, unrealistic as it may well be?
We had our feel-good moment for Yasmin when she laughed that time when she found that Jeff had been locked in the conservatory. That's all you're getting, Gemma.
Yeah.
I'm surprised. Has anybody told Yasmin about the whole block of flats that might be soon to be built on top of her house?
She's tranquil and unbothered, isn't she, about that?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is like... Maybe that's what she needs to get her out of her shell, because Yasmin likes a good protest, doesn't she? Remember she had that sit-in in the library? Yeah. I think she'd be able to get right behind Roy and David and all that. She's
probably got her own lovely sailor.
Forget about Jeff. Think about the thing that matters.
So she's still living with Alia? Where's Alia living? I don't know where she's living.
Oh, yeah.
Because her house has been firebombed.
Alia's living with Imran and Toyah and Ryan.
And Craig.
No, Craig's not there anymore.
Craig's moved.
Craig has moved out to live with his mum off screen.
So, Alia, Ryan, Toyah, Imran, maybe Yasmin, and a baby.
Yes, there could be a baby coming very soon.
Festive scene. It is like No Room at the Inn. The foster service will come round with the baby and they'll be like, we haven't got any room.
No room above the flower shop.
I'll tell you where there is a nice little cubby hole. This oven is nice and warm. Pop the baby in there.
So the Friday, literally, we just had a couple of scenes of Toyah. She's saying, Leanne, we're going to find out whether they're going to be foster parents later. Cut back later in the episode. We're going to be foster parents. We managed to get through the whole of this without seeing any Imran at all. Hopefully the two of them will get some scenes together next week. But Leanne's there saying, it's fine, I can cope. You don't need to wrap me up in cotton wool just because my son's died.
I'm not like Michelle. I'm not going to claim the flowers.
It was the same with Nick as well, wasn't it? Because he had to scuttle off to Victoria Gardens to phone Sam up about Christmas Day. And Leanne's saying, it's fine, you don't need to walk on eggshells, but I feel that when she actually sees the baby or child or whatever next week, she may well find it somewhat difficult.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
I hope that this story gets a decent chunk of airtime next week. I don't need there to be as much.
I would love then to dedicate quite a large portion of Christmas Day on the reaction of a grieving mother to Christmas Day, which is a day that is celebrated and beloved of children.
Tell you what, I don't really need much any more of next week, which is the Todd story. But I think we are going to get it. Like I said, I think I think Christmas Day could be
Right,
He
this
makes
is
the
my
mood.
prediction for Christmas Day. Todd and Paul been molesting one another while Billy does the sermon that nobody cares about John Lewis, and he's accidentally got the Wikipedia pages confused. So he's talking about how
This year's John Lewis Christmas advert.
he's talking about how John Lewis was a really great civil rights campaigner and also has a price match guarantee for any sale item, especially electronics. I also imagine that it's going to be a bit where Leanne is holding a present that's got Oliver's name on it and crying.
Oh, yeah, it's probably something from Janice or Les has come through because they still haven't been told about
Yeah.
Oliver dying, which is the only explanation that I can think
conversation.
of, that they haven't come round to comfort grieving Leanne.
Adam will wake up on Christmas Day. Sarah will look guilty. I predict that Daniel, there will definitely be a montage, and Daniel will be watching Sinead go, Merry Christmas!
Oh, yeah,
Merry
musical
Christmas.
montage for next Friday. Sad.
One of the oldies, maybe Rita or Ken, will stare out of the window at the development and go, I can't believe Ray wants to get rid of this and put in a reasonably priced budget hotel that will provide great location and great amenities with a decent walk to the local tram station.
I want to see a scene where Rita's at home in her flat and the star falls off the top, and then she goes to get on the step ladder to bridge it, and that.
You're not getting me like that again, Jesus! Not on your birthday. Daisy's gonna be sexy Daisy.
Oh yeah,
Jenny
she's
and
gonna
Johnny
get
are
inside.
gonna share a sad yet, what's the word, like courageous look over a glass of sherry.
I don't know what's
the
going on
future
with
that
Johnny, because
he's waiting for his hearing.
He's waiting for the hearing, and Jenny's still not wanting to think about it.
Yeah. And what else stories are there? And Max will die in the sinkhole.
Okay, I look forward to that.
Christmas Day.
I think that Father Christmas
Day.
should drive into the sinkhole. The Platts wake up on Christmas morning and then
And
hear
he'll be
the
like,
sound
I'm
of
stuck.
hear the sound of reindeer.
You're all getting coal. Also, Fizz and Tyrone will be like there, sitting around the table, carving the turkey, and then Tyrone will be like, do you remember that time that Hope had that cancer and we thought she was going to die before Christmas? The things you worry about.
Oh yeah, I proposed to you on that episode. Better get going with that then.
How's the wedding funds coming, Fizz? Do you remember I gave you £10 a week to sock away for the perfect, beautiful destination wedding?
Gemma, who was your character of the week this week, and what score are you giving it? I'm struggling with the character of the week this week because it was very
enjoyed
much
it.
an ensemble cast, but
It
I
is
was
in general, yeah.
But no, literally, I wouldn't say that there was anybody that stood out as being the main person.
No, because we were
revolved
watching
around.
lots of characters going, it wasn't me.
Yeah, and
didn't
like I said earlier,
Carla
there are lots of
and-
unlikable
yeah,
characters this
Carla
week,
and Peter
unfortunately.
can go in a bin. Adam's unconscious, so it can't be him.
Sarah's blubbing, Carla's blubbing, Daniel's being a git.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Daniel can go in the bin as well.
Shona and Simon were okay, but they're still feeling a bit weird, their friendship together.
Weird vibes.
Maybe this week I'll give my character of the week to Debbie for two reasons. One, she found a bit of conscience and was trying to make a bit of a compromise between still want to have my flats but also want my brother to have his garage.
I want my money,
but then
but
I did enjoy at the very
respect.
end of it her going, damn everybody around
Wow,
here, I'm
screw you.
villain.
Yeah, screw you guys.
So Debbie's going to be my character of the week.
Oh, you've made such a compelling argument, but I don't really want to just
Don't
steal
copy me.
No, because the teacher might find out.
I am a teacher.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Oh.
You can go with Debbie if you want. You can go with Ray. You can go with Elaine.
I had somebody
You
in my
can
head
go
and I
with-
can't remember who it was. It
You-
wasn't.
Well, you got to decide. It's the law. I'm going to give you my score while we're going. I'm giving this week of episodes, 3 keys in the fridge. No, 3.5 keys out of fridge.
Keys out
No.
of fridge.
3.5 keys in the fridge out of 5 this week. Have you got a score at
who
least?
did you give it to?
Debbie.
Yeah, that's right. I told you I'm tired. I think Debbie's the right choice, but I can't just copy you, so I'm going to give it to Shona.
Okay.
Because I really like Crazy Shona. And I thought it was funny. I get weird vibes, but I get weird vibes off a lot of things, to be honest, these days. I think there's something.
What's your
in the
score?
water.
I'm feeling that you're going to go higher than 3.5.
Yeah, I enjoyed this week. I like it, and it's festive. I'm going to give
wasn't
it.
festive. It was miserable, and everyone's suspicious and horrible to
I'm
each
sorry,
other.
I don't know what Christmases you're used to, but that's festive to me.
Fine, okay.
What did you score it out of? I've forgotten.
Keys in the fridge.
I think I've got what Shona's got, you know. I'm going to give it 4 pound shop Miss Marples.
Lovely.
4.
Well done.